Hi there. Welcome to my short video presentation on Event Emitter. On this video I will explore what Event Emitter is, how it works, and its significance in programming. So let's dive right in.
The door represents the emitter. It's like a hub that can recognize and broadcast events. Just like an emitter in programming, the door doesn't need to know who or what will respond to its events. Its primary purpose to notify others when something specific happens. The dog symbolizes an event occurrence. Let's say whenever the dog barks woof, it's considered an event. The dog represents the source of event. Then the dog barks, it emits the event. The person waiting at the door represents the listener. This person is interested in knowing when the dog barks. So they subscribe to the dog's barking event, meaning they register time slips with the door to receive notifications whenever the dog barks. Now let's walk through the process. The first one is registration. The person at the door decides to listen the dog's barking. They add time slips to listener to the door for the woof event. The next stage is event emission. The dog gets excited and starts the barking, emits the woof event. As soon as the dog barks, the door, the emitter, takes notice of this event. The next one is notification phase. The door checks its list of registered listeners and sees that there is a person waiting for the notified about the woof event. So it notifies the person by letting them know that the dog has barked. After that, the person at the door reacts to notification. In our analogy, they open the door to see what's happening outside in response to the dog's barking. In this analogy, the door emitter acts as an intermediary between the dog event source and the person listener. It facilitates communication without the dog and the person needed to know about each other directly. The person only needs to subscribe to the door, and the door takes care of the rest. In the programming world, this concept of emitter and listeners is used to create a flexible and modular architecture. Their different components can interact without tightly coupling to each other. This line defines a generic type listener T, which represents a function that takes an argument of type T and returns void. In the context of the event emitter, listener T represents the callback function that will be executed when an event of type T is emitted. The event emitter class is declared with a generic type parameter T, which denotes the type of events this event emitter can handle. Then, using the event emitter class, you can specify the decided event type by providing a type argument for T. The listener property is an array of listeners T functions. It holds the register event listeners for events of type T. Then an event is emitted, all the registered listeners in the array will be called with the corresponding event data. The addListener method takes a parameter of type listener T, which means it expects a function that can handle events of type T. This method allows you to register a new event listener for the specified event type T. Remove listener method allows you to remove an event listener from the listeners array. The clear listeners method removes all event listeners registered for events of type T. The emit method takes an argument of type T representing the event data you want to emit. Then this method is called. It will execute all the registered event listeners in the listeners array, passing the event data as an argument. By using generics, Typescript ensures type safety and allows you to create instances of event emitter that work with specified event types. For example, if you instance event emitter with type number, it will handle events of type number, and you wouldn't be able to add listeners that expect events of other types. Now let's see how can we use this event emitter. We'll create an instance of Event Emitter and specify that it will handle events of type string. You can imagine this as an event that carries a string message. Don't forget about importing the Event Emitter class from our local model, which we call eventemitter.js. Next, we'll create a listener function that will respond to the events emitted by the door. This listener function will log the event it hears and take specific actions based on the event's content. If the event is woof, we'll suggest opening the door. Otherwise, we'll say that the person hears some noise but does nothing. Now that we had our listener, let's add it to the door event emitter using the addListener method. This means that whenever the door emits an event, our listener function will be called. Let's try emitting some events. We'll use the emit method to trigger events and see how our listeners respond. As we saw in the console log, the woof event triggered our listener, suggesting that the person should open the door. Whenever the woof event didn't trigger the listener because it wasn't recognized as a specific command. Lastly, let's clear all the listeners using the clear listeners method, and after cleaning the listeners, we'll try emitting an event again. You see that after calling clear listeners method, there are no listeners left for the door. So the last door emit call doesn't trigger any actions. That's it for this demonstration of Event Emitter in TypeScript. Event emitters are incredibly useful for building event-based architectures and promoting loose coupling between components. I hope you found this video helpful in understanding how to implement and use event emitters in TypeScript. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Stay tuned for more executed content and happy coding. Bye bye.